And we are on live. Good morning on this 29th day of August. I'm just doing my technology check. We're not starting yet. We start up at 11 o'clock, but I come on live at 10:55 promptly every Saturday morning, 11 o'clock Eastern. I see folks are checking in already. Come on in. Man, I got a lot on my mind today. Let them know. Let the folks know that Principal Kafele is on live. This is our finale of the summer virtual Assistant Principal Leadership Academy. It's not the end of the academy, though. It's just the end of the summer. We coming back strong next Saturday with 30 minutes of Assistant Principal Effectiveness. But for now, I appreciate you guys tuning in early. I got to reach out to you, Josh, at some point, man. I want to hear about your new surroundings. You're in a whole new world out there. So I'll be reaching out to you soon, right? So good to see you, Josh. Good to see a whole lot of familiar names there. Keep on coming in. Let the folks know I'm just here. I do my technology check live. So just let the folks know that I'm here, that we're ready to rock and roll. Oh man, I see Dr. Marcus Jackson is here. I really did not expect to see you today, sir, but I'm glad to see you. We're gonna talk soon too, man. We'll talk. Dr. Jackson lives in Lake Charles, folks. Lake Charles, Louisiana. The eye of the storm this week, the hurricane. So prayers to Dr. Jackson, well wishes, thoughts to Dr. Jackson, not just from me, but from all of us, because I think probably everybody that's on these calls every weekend knows Dr. Marcus Jackson. So if you didn't know, he lives in Lake Charles, Louisiana. So he got the direct hit. All right. So, but he's fine. He wasn't there when it happened. But again, for those of you who are checking in, we haven't started. We start at 11, but I come on live at 10:55 every day just to do a technology check because I'm on a lot of different platforms these days. So I'm just making sure that everything is the way I need it to be. And that way, if it wasn't, I can start all over or make whatever adjustments I need to make. So I'm just checking. Greetings. Hit that share button, somebody. Hit that retweet button, somebody. Let them know that we're getting ready to get started in a couple of minutes. And I got a lot to say today, folks. I got a lot on my mind. So just let the folks know that, you can hit that share button for me on Facebook. I'm on 2 different platforms on Facebook. Or they can hit that retweet button on Twitter. Or they can hit the share button on YouTube on my School Leadership Thoughts channel. So once again, I'm just doing a technology check. I'm making sure that everything is right. Because last week I had a typo, and it's embarrassing to have a typo in your title because on Twitter you can't edit it. So whatever you type, you're stuck with it. So I want to make sure that I'm good. So I forgot to check YouTube. We still got another minute. Once again, hit that share button. Hit that retweet button. I got a lot to talk about, and I'm gonna repeat myself. I'm gonna say this again once we get into it. But I'm going over an hour today. I know that, all these notes in front of me. But and I know that some of you can't make the hour, but just watch the rest of the video at another time. But those of you who can hang out with me, I won't go over an hour and a half. I won't get crazy with it. But I'm gonna be here for a little while. I'm gonna be on this computer for a little while. I got things on my mind. Right. So once again, all the video is looking good. All the technology is looking good. All the video is looking good. The clock's looking good. We're at 10:59. My numbers could be better, right? Because I got a lot to say, but it's early. And a lot of people, they come on, they say, he going to spend 10 minutes on announcements. I'm not coming on. But I might say this right now. When I start up in the fall, next week, September, can't believe it's here already. I won't be doing those announcements. So if you decide to come on 10 minutes late and you want to get this information and you want to get it live, you're going to miss out on the first 10 minutes because I'm not going to be doing that. I'm going hard for 30 minutes starting next Saturday, and then I'm out. So 30 minutes. Look here, folks. It's 11 o'clock. I'm looking at the names on here. I see a lot of familiar folks, but I'm ready to go. So let me say formally now to everybody at 11 o'clock on August 29th, good morning, good morning, good morning. Greetings to everybody again on the last Saturday in August 29 at 11 o'clock. And as I always say, I don't know about you, but despite the challenges of the world, despite the challenges of this week, I continue to be on fire. Let's jump into it. You know something, folks? Let me start it this way. This was a challenging week on so many levels, and I'm not going to get into all the levels because then it would make this broadcast become political, and I don't want it to become that. So I'm just going to leave it as this was a challenging week on many levels. So much going on in the world, so much going on over the summer, so much going on throughout 2020. But I'm saying to you, because my audience on these broadcasts are educators, and the primary focus is assistant principals, but I know that there are more than assistant principals on the broadcast, right? So much went on this week. A hurricane, COVID-19 is still here. Jacob Blake, and I might add the Republican National Convention, right? And whatever's going on in your personal world. So just so much going on, but I'm saying to you that despite whatever's going on in your world, whatever's going on the inside, whatever's going on the outside, you've still got to maintain your fire. You've still got to maintain your energy, your excitement, your enthusiasm for the work that you do, because it's easy to be extinguished. It's easy for your flame to be extinguished by the things that are happening out there. That's easy. So therefore, you got to put forth maximum effort to ensure that it doesn't happen, right? So I want to say that to you before we get started. I just got 3 quick announcements, and then I'm jumping into it. Number one, as I'm going to say for the entire 52 weeks, you got to get your hands on this if you don't have it. The Assistant Principal 50. It's the complement, the supplement to this 52-week virtual Assistant Principal Leadership Academy, right? So someone's saying 52 weeks. I thought it was 18. Nah, I decided, why am I going to stop this now when school's beginning? It's probably more relevant with school back in session than it was over the summer. So we're going to do this until next May of 2021, every Saturday, God willing. But then the complement to this book is the Aspiring Principal 50. If you're a new principal, I wrote this for you. If you're an assistant principal, I wrote this for you. If you are an aspiring principal, I wrote this for you, right? So you got to get your hands on both of them, right? So that's it for the book plugs. Those of you that are not aware yet, yes, I'm extending this virtual Assistant Principal Leadership Academy into 52 weeks into the school year, all the way to May 2nd of 2021. And then once we get there, I'll figure out what I'm gonna do from there, right? So right now I don't have to worry about that because I got 35 weeks to contemplate over it. So I'm saying to you that I'm calling it 30 minutes of assistant principal effectiveness. That's what I'm calling it, as a sort of a subtitle. It's still called Virtual Assistant Principal Leadership Academy, but as a subtitle, 30 minutes of assistant principal effectiveness. That way it reminds me that I'm only supposed to be on here for 30 minutes because you guys got work to do, or you just got to bring it down. You got to relax, get yourself rejuvenated for the next week, whatever it is. But so it's a reminder for me, but it's a reminder for you that you got to be here on time because we're going to dive deep. So I'll do my quick book announcements at 11 o'clock, and 11:01, I'm going bang, full throttle all the way to 11:30. Right. So that takes care of my preliminary announcements. Our overarching theme for this entire 52 weeks, as I said, the first day on May 1st or May 2nd, whatever it was, of 2020, does my assistant principalship benefit my school academically? Once again, does my assistant principalship benefit my school? Keyword, academically. What is it about you as assistant principal that your school is better because you lead it? That's what the question's being asked, right? What is it about your presence in that building? What is it about you in that capacity? What is it about you wearing that title, assistant principal? Gotta be able to answer that question. What is it about you in that space that school is a better school, academically speaking? That is the whole thrust and motivation and impetus for me doing these broadcasts in the first place. So that's the overarching question for the entire 52-week series. Last week, I left you with a parting question. I said, how will I ensure that my leadership contributes to a positive school climate and culture? Once again, my homework assignment last week, parting question, was how will I ensure that my leadership contributes to a positive school climate and culture? Now, a lot of you, I know a lot because I hear it on Twitter all the time. A lot of you pay attention to these shirts, these jerseys I wear, and today is no exception. You know that Jackie Robinson Day was yesterday. You know that. But what I decided to do, because I got the Jackie Robinson Dodgers jersey upstairs, but I said, I'm going to wear the Jackie Robinson Negro League jersey. See, some of y'all didn't know that. Let me get this screen right, man. The letters are really down low here. I said, I'm going to wear the Jackie Robinson Negro League jersey. So for those of you that didn't know that Jackie Robinson played for the best Negro League team, the Kansas City Monarchs, which produced a lot of stars that went on to the major leagues, just Satchel Pages, Buck O'Neill, just Buck Leonard, and a whole lot of others. This is who he played for in 1945. Then he played for the Montreal Royals in 1946, which was the farm team, the elite farm team for the Brooklyn Dodgers in 1946, which that jersey is in the mail, is coming. And then he went on and played for the Brooklyn Dodgers in 1947. So you got to, and then of course UCLA before that. So you got to know that trajectory. So you talk about Jackie Robinson Day, but know that he played in the Negro Leagues too. Also noted it was agreed that he wasn't the best player on the Negro League team he played for, the Kansas City Monarchs. He was just the one that they felt would be the best fit for integrating the league, right? So a lot of history there. We're not here for that though, but I got to let you know what I'm wearing every week because I'm wearing history for the entire 52 weeks. Let's jump into it, folks. I got a lot to say. Look here. I need to bring it down a little bit too. I'm gonna be on here for a while. If folks can't stay, that's okay. I just need to get it on film because I want people to be able to see this for years on out, right? This will probably be the most important one I've done of the summer. And you'll recall when George Floyd's murder occurred, I switched gears. I had to, right? I couldn't do what I had on paper. You know, all these sessions are on, they're 3 pages every day, every Saturday, typewritten. And I prepare these, like I start these on like the Sunday after the Saturday. So like tomorrow I'm preparing for next week. So that's how I do that. And I couldn't do what I had typed. I said, man, Jacob Blake happened. And I can't do it. So going back to George Floyd, I said, I can't do what I was going to do. Yeah, and I got you, Fred Mars Whitley. I'm gonna try to see that 42 movie again. I saw it when it came out, but now it takes on new meaning, obviously. But going back, so I had to switch gears and talk about social justice education when George Floyd's murder occurred on May 25th. Then on July 17, we lost the great congressman, freedom fighter, John Lewis. And then the broadcast was on the next day, July 18, which was Nelson Mandela's birthday. So they kind of the two came together, and I couldn't do what I had planned, so I switched gears again. So today I had this I told you from last week, we're going deep into I'm not just a disciplinarian. So there's a lot there, but then Jacob Blake happened. And I said, man, because every time when these events happen, I'm looking at it through the lens of an educator. So I'm not just looking at it through the lens of a human being, of a person, but I'm very specific in terms of I'm looking at it through the lens of an educator. As T.B. Summers said, it becomes teachable moments, right? So I'm looking at Jacob Blake, and I'm also, and hear me, I'm looking at the aftermath in Kenosha, right, Wisconsin. I'm looking at that. And I'm saying all week, I can't do what I was gonna what I was going to cover this week. I can't do it. I can't do it. But on the one hand, I'm trying to force myself to do it. But on the other hand, I'm saying, but I can't do it. But I'm thinking, but I got folks that come on here because they want very specific information based on what they've read in the Assistant Principal 50, perhaps. I said, but I got to deviate. And I just had to give it to God and pray that the folks that may not want to hear this message will stick around, because this message is relevant as well. If you got at least one Black student in your school. If you don't have at least one Black student or one student of color, then hey, I understand. I don't agree, but I understand if you're not here. So I'm getting ready to go heavy, y'all. You can't see, like when my son takes pictures later on, you'll kind of see my desk situation. I'm cluttered with books all around me, y'all. It's like books here, books here, books here. I got a lot to do. So let's jump into it. My topic, as I said on the as you see on the screen, and as I said on a post I did this morning, Black students matter and the assistant principalship. Once again, Black students matter and the assistant principalship. And obviously when I say Black students matter, that's just a takeoff or a spinoff of Black Lives Matter, right? I said, let me be a little bit more specific. Black lives means everybody in totality. I said, let me narrow that focus and let me look at the children. Let me look at the student, but not look at the children as children per se, but look at the children while they're in the school or while they're on the screen virtually during a pandemic. Let me look at the children. But let me be very specific this week in the context of the week we just had. Let me look at Black children, right? Let me just focus on Black children this week. I used to be a Black child. In fact, let me just give some backdrop here. I used to be a Black child. I think somebody needs to hit that share button for me, though. Somebody needs to hit that retweet button for me, though. Hit that share button. Hit that retweet button. Let them know Kafele is putting it out here, right? I was that Black child, y'all. In elementary school, I was a very good Black child. I did well in school. I know my family was confident that I was going to soar. I know that, right? I was going to soar. But without getting into all the details, my wheels started falling off in late middle school. Without getting into the detail, when I'm doing my professional development, I talk about it, but that we're not going to use my time that way. See, I got unlimited time in a lot of those presentations. So my wheels started falling off. And by the time I got to grade 9, I was the opposite of what I was in, say, grade 6, grade 5, right? So now my mom decides to put me in the Catholic school. They throw me out after 4 months. We don't want you here. So then my mom puts me in the local high school. I seldom stopped in there. Then my mom sends me to live with my father. We don't hit it off. And school is the last thing on my radar. I'm this young Black boy at that time, right? I'm not a Black man yet. I'm a Black boy. So he sends me back home. So then I go to a school. So then my mother and I pack our bags and we go way down the New Jersey Turnpike to a school where all the students, where the whole town, all the students were white. I didn't know that world, right? That's a world I did not know, right? So the 2,000 white students plus, 2,000 plus, and here comes African-American student number 5. I knew that the fit wasn't a good fit instinctively when I got there because we were so different from one another, culturally speaking, our interests, the things we liked, the things that we did, it was the way we dressed, the way we spoke, the way we walked, all that was different. So the only thing we had in common in terms of me and my circle was sports, and that's it. Right. Outside of that, it was just a difficult situation. Right. I'm trying to fix my shirt, man. So now I knew that I wasn't doing well academically because I graduated with a 1.5 GPA. Right. Yeah, you heard me right. A 1.5 GPA after attending 4 high schools over a period of 5 years. Right. So I was on the 5-year plan. So, but here's the thing. I didn't care. I was content. I didn't stress over that. It didn't matter to me, right? It didn't matter because I was so far gone in that period of my life. I had no ambition outside of just being an athlete. So after graduation, I just hung out for the next 5 years, made a stop in the junior college, but that didn't really work out. Just hung out. And then after that 5-year period, enrolled in what's called Kane University in New Jersey, graduated summa cum laude, and never looked back. I haven't looked back since 1986 when I graduated undergrad school, because I stumbled. Well, I'll tell you what I stumbled on in a little while. I graduated summa cum laude. That's what's key here. So I went from this 1.5 in high school to graduating at the top of my class. Now, my topic again: Black students matter. And we're gonna couple that with the assistant principalship. So I'm gonna stay relevant to the purpose of this presentation, this academy. So I got a question for you. Kim Wilson Daniels out there taking notes. It's gonna be a little different, Kim, but just work with me. But I got this question, and this is for you, APs. This is for you, leaders, because I know we got principals on here. Usually we have assistant superintendents and superintendents watching as well, because they let me know on Twitter. And the question is, when you have your staff meetings, what do they sound like when you talk about race, right? Like are you engaging staff and assistant principal? If that's not your place to engage staff, but you're planning and you're plotting for when you become principal, then I just want you to ponder that question through that lens, the lens of when you become the principal. So I'm asking you again, what do those conversations sound like? Are you having them? If you've got at least one Black child in your school, I'm asking you those conversations about race as it relates to Black children. What do those conversations sound like, right? What do those conversations entail? And let me just focus a little bit here. Yeah, I think that's a little better. What do those conversations entail? Are you getting down to the nitty gritty in those conversations, or are you kind of tiptoeing through the minefields, right? Circumventing the tough topics. I made that worse, y'all. Y'all got to bear with me a second. I don't know how I'm out of focus here. I guess that's a little better. So are you having the real conversation, the necessary conversation, or are you kind of just tiptoeing through with the fear or the trepidation that I might hurt somebody's feelings? Because let me keep it real. I keep it real every week, but I'm going to be real today, right? I'm saying that if you've got children of color, in this case, Black students in your school, right? And you have data, and this is an if now, if your data says that our students of color, and again, I'm being specific to Black students. I'm gonna stop saying students of color and I'm gonna say Black, because the name of my topic is Black Students Matter. So if your students of color, through your data you find, are not achieving at the levels that you would want them to achieve, and thereby you have an achievement gap in your school, then my question is, to what extent are you guys having the conversation, the necessary conversations, as it relates to what shifts, what changes, what adjustments that you're going to make as it relates to strategy toward ensuring that you're connecting with that population of students? Because if you're not having the conversation as a staff, then essentially what's happening is you're just wishing, hoping, desiring, perhaps praying for change. And wishing, hoping, desiring, I mean, that's not a bad thing. And certainly praying is not a bad thing. But if there's no action that comes with the wish, with the hope, with the desire, with the prayer, you're not going to see the change that you want. You're just going to be somewhere in your school wishing all day, or you'll be somewhere in some corner praying all day. But at what point does your behavior change? At what point does your action change, so that we are doing things differently? Because we see a systemic problem. We see a perpetual problem. We're seeing the same thing happening year after year after year after decade. We are seeing the same thing. underachievement of our Black students. So I'm asking the question again. And I told y'all, look, for those of you checking in now, because I see the numbers going up a little something, I'm going to be on over an hour today. I know my commitment is an hour for this final week, but I got too much to say. I'm going about 90 minutes today. All right. So work with me. If you can't hang, I understand. Just check the video later on. Right. But if I'm the only one on here, I'm gonna do it because I want to record this. So here we go. I'm saying to you, you have to have that conversation. You have to engage staff in that conversation. And I don't mean that you're going, because you're the leader of the school. So it would be irresponsible to come at your staff like this. You can't do that. Not in this setting. As the leader of the school with that staff that you're counting on to be there for your young people. You can't come at them head on. You got to use your people skills. You're gonna have to study the landscape, meaning your staff, and figure out how do I broach this in a way that I don't necessarily step on toes, become offensive, and lose my staff. And now there's a barrier between us, them against us, or the ones, or you may have a portion of your staff who are with you. They amen you. They're on your side, but then you got another portion of the staff who, I don't like what's going on around here. Then the students suffer in that scenario every time. So what I'm saying to you, and some people said y'all with me for the duration. I hear that and I appreciate that, right? So what I'm saying to you, you have to study that. You have to analyze that. You know, it's like you're a sociologist as a leader, learning your staff and learning how to approach different staff members because they're not all the same. You got the spectrum in terms of politically, and then you got you got both ends, and then everybody in between, and you got to figure out how to navigate that so that ultimately you've got a staff that understands where you're coming from, what your purpose is, what your mission is, what your vision is for these young people over the long haul, because you cannot, hear me somebody, it's 2020. You cannot circumvent this conversation anymore. You cannot sweep this conversation under the rug anymore. You cannot run away and hide from this conversation anymore. You cannot sweep this conversation under the rug anymore because the cat has been let out of the bag. The can of worms has been opened. The toothpaste the toothpaste has come out. You can't put it back. See, so now I'm saying to you, you got to have this conversation, but you got to have the audacity to have the conversation. You got to have the backbone. You've got to have the spine, the courage to have this conversation. There's nothing wrong with that. If there's somebody watching me right now and you're like, but this is wrong. No, it's not wrong. It is right, because none of us, not me, not you, are in this school for ourselves. And that's what's key. We're not there because of us. We're not there because I had a dream that I want to be a teacher, that I want to be a leader. That's not what this is about. We're there because we said, I'm the right person to effectuate change for these children. That's why we're there. Something inside of you, your why, your spirit, your soul, it said, I got something that children need, and I need to be there to effectuate the kind of change that they need in order for them to live their lives on their own terms when they become adults. So we're about the children. But what if an essential ingredient relative to the conversation of race and culture is not part of that conversation? Then you know something? We're missing the whole boat. Because see, when we talk about this achievement gap, when we talk about the school to prison pipeline, that's all rooted in race. You can't circumvent that. If you look at data of schools and districts across the country and find that Black children, and particularly Black boys, are underachieving, that has to be scrutinized. That has to be analyzed. You can't just pretend that's not there. You got to look at that and come up with some answers, but you can't do it by yourself because you're not the one that's in the classroom teaching. It's your teachers, and thereby you've got to engage them in that conversation. Look here, y'all, I'm just at the introduction, man. Hit that share button, man. I'm getting ready to go deep. Hit the share button. Hit the retweet button. Let them know that there's an important conversation going on all of Principal Kafele's platforms this morning. And if you're an educator, you need to be in the building. Right. So now let's go. I told you again, I'm going over 30 minutes. So I asked you what the conversation sounded like. Now let me take you back into history a little bit more. And after 2 years of teaching, this is me now, 1988-89 school year, 1989-1990 school year, I came to a conclusion, y'all. I was working with exclusively Black students, 100% Black students. 1 year in New York City and Brooklyn, 1 year in East Orange, New Jersey. I said, I came to a conclusion. I said, parents got to be engaged in the process. So in this case, I said, Black parents got to be engaged in the process. Black parents, and I'm not painting with a broad brush. I'm just using the term. I'm just using it. Black parents. Black parents can't be on the sideline looking in. Black parents got to be heavily engaged, rooted, grounded in their children's education. I came to that conclusion at the end of my second year of teaching. I said, there's no way in the world that the masses of these children, Black children, are going to maximize their potential if their parents are not fully engaged. So what did I do? I wrote a book, a Black Parents Handbook to Educating Your Children Outside of the Classroom. I wrote this in 1990, right after I finished that second year. I knew instinctively that there were so many parents out here that wanted the best for their children, but didn't know what their role was. I knew that, didn't know what to do. I said, okay, let me give you the blueprint. Let me break this down in a 74-page book. Let me give you the blueprint of what you can do to ensure that your child is being not only educated in the classroom, but being reinforced educated at home. I wrote the blueprint after 2 years of teaching, and with an infant child, what did I know about parenting? I had an infant, but I had the audacity because I knew something about being great in college by graduating summa cum laude with a 3.9 GPA, right? I knew something about that, so I transferred that into this, which became an Essence magazine #1 bestseller because I was on my hustle like you never seen nobody hustle something. I said, I am determined to get this book into the hands of parents. But here's the reason I even bring it up to you, because I'm not trying to market it. I don't even know if you can get this book these days. You got to like go directly through me, and I got to have time to get it to you. You ain't gonna find it nowhere. So here's my point. This book had a particular area which was the motivation for writing it. It's like 7 different chapters in the book, but the chapter that was really the reason I wrote it was a chapter called Reading for Success. Once again, Reading for Success. Nashik, I know it says Amazon, but I don't know if they still got it, right? I need to put it back on Amazon. First, I got to put it back in print. Right. So we'll talk about that, because I probably just opened up a can of worms and now all y'all want to get that book. Right. So I'll figure that out. Right. I know it says Amazon. I know it's there, but I don't know that they have it in stock, because I haven't sent them any in like a decade. Now, someone else out there has some old copies and they put it on, and that's why it would be available. So you can check that out. Now, the chapter was called Reading for Success. Here's what I mean. I only wrote this book for that chapter. Everything else, I just kind of, put that in because it was relevant. The Reading for Success chapter said, hey, parent, your children have to read, but the reading has to be very specific and tailored to a specific objective. I said, the reading has to be rooted in who they are. Hear me, because y'all ain't hear me. The reading has to be rooted in here they are. As I say to all my audiences through my clients throughout these 40 per month Zoom presentations that I do, the best kept secret from Black children is the history of themselves. I'm going to say that one again. The best kept secret from Black children across America is the history of themselves. But I can add to that. The best kept secret to the majority of their teachers, in particular their non-Black teachers, is the history of the Black children that are sitting in that classroom. So imagine now, I'm a Black boy, I'm a Black student, but in this case, a Black boy, and I've got a white teacher. And as this Black boy, I've never been exposed to my history. And then my teacher, who's going from K-12 and then undergrad school and perhaps even graduate school, and also has not been exposed to the same thing I haven't been exposed to. That's a recipe for complete disaster for that youngster, because now that youngster can go K-12 and never be exposed to his or her story, his or her history, and thereby the foundation upon which that youngster stands, the shoulders upon which that youngster stands upon, right? So now you got a deficit going on in that classroom. You got a deficit with the teacher, you got a deficit with the young person. And let's be crystal clear. I am not talking about, but we do something in Black History Month. Yeah, let me show you what that symbolically looks like in so many cases. It's February 1st. Let's get the Black History Month book off the shelf. Matter of fact, let me just go right to the shelf, right? We pretend I'm pulling the Black History Month book. Actually, I did pull a Black History Month book. It's February 1st. Hold on. Gotta get the dust off. It's been sitting on the shelf for a year. Now, okay, let's get into some slavery and Harriet Tubman. And now let's jump all the way to Rosa Parks, right? And let's finish the month off with Dr. King. All right, we're finished with the Black history. Now let's go back to the status quo, back to the shelves for you. See, that can't happen, y'all. That can't happen. So what I'm saying to you, I said to parent, you've got to create a library in your home, and your children have to be exposed to their story, and you cannot start them at a deficit by beginning during enslavement. That is a virtual crime to commit when you start the youngster off as a slave. Or when you start his peers in the classroom, his white peers, off by teaching them that his history began as a slave. Think about the superiority complex you're creating in the white student. See? So you can't start it there. So I write this book, A Black Parent's Handbook to Educating Your Children, because I need that one chapter, Reading for Success. I mean, every chapter is relevant, but I needed that parent to hear that and say, oh, Kafele is saying, because I wasn't principal yet, I was teacher. Kafele is saying that my child needs to be rooted in his history, in her history, right? So now that started to open up some things that parents could, because I recommended book titles in the book as well. Here's what you need your child to read. So I had that kind of information. So then that was 1991 when I published this. Then I wrote some pamphlets on goal setting. I didn't write another book until 2004. Let me show it to you. Same scenario. You can't find this right now. No Amazon. If you go to Amazon, it's going to be there. Let me get that out there light. It's going to be there. I can't do it. There you go. Handbook for Teachers of African American Children. I haven't sold this book in a decade, maybe more than that. I need to, since I'm putting it on here, because I know a lot of you are going to be like, I need that book, A Handbook for Teachers of African American Children. I self-published these two books. But this book has, how many chapters in here? This book has 10 chapters. I only wrote this book because of one chapter. Let me read the chapter title to you. The first, the chapter number 1, The Missing Component. That's it. I didn't write this book for the other 9 chapters. I just had to fill the book up. I mean, I put relevant information, I put good information in it, but I wrote the book because of the one chapter, the missing component. And what do you think that is? I'm sure you figured that out by now. The missing component was the African American history, the African diaspora history. That was the missing component. I said, let me write a book. And once I finished that chapter, it was like I was ready to publish at that point. But then it would have only been a pamphlet. So I had to go on and fill it up with the additional 9 chapters. And then I had a book, Handbook for Teachers of African American Children. But I had an agenda. And my agenda was chapter 1, the missing component. Because look, this book wasn't written for a parent. This was written for it's all backwards, y'all. The teacher. It's reverse. The teacher. I said, teacher, your youngsters, your Black children in particular, have to be exposed to their story. They've got to be exposed to their history. That is the missing ingredient. That is the missing component. And until they have that, they're going to look into the mirror and they're not going to recognize who that is looking back. They're not going to recognize that person. They'll know that that's Jaleel Jones, right, in terms of his name, but they won't know the backstory, the foundation, the shoulders they stand on, that the thousands of years of history of greatness. They won't know that because they haven't been told. So a lot of times we'll look at various different scenarios, situations. Why is he engaging in this behavior? Why is he engaging in that behavior? Because he doesn't know of his royalty. That's why. He's not familiar with his greatness. That's why. Nobody told them. Nobody made them aware. Chadwick Boseman passed yesterday. We know that. But why was that movie so big? Black Panther. Why did that movie break all these records? Because for one of the first times ever in cinematography in Hollywood, Black children got to see themselves as the hero, not the pimp, not the gangster, not the drug dealer, not the criminal, not the guy with all the women, all that stuff. No, he was the hero, and it made people excited, and that's why we taking his death very, very tragically. Because he played great roles, but I'm talking about this role in particular, Black Panther. See, Black children got to be, hear me somebody, because y'all don't hear me. Black children got to be the hero. See, y'all didn't hear that. I'm going to say it again. Black children got to be the hero by way of looking at him vicariously. See, that's what that was about. That's why his loss is so hurtful for so many, because he refused to play those roles. He played positive roles. See, so I'm saying to you, when I watched Black Panther, when I looked at that, it took me, my mind went back to chapter 1 in a handbook for teachers of African American children. I said, that's why I wrote the book for that one chapter. I wanted the teacher to see, wow, there's a piece that's missing here in my instruction, in my curriculum, that the children need to be exposed to. Let me say this to y'all. I'm looking at my notes. Man, I'm like right up there, like next to the introduction, y'all. I'm going to be on here for a while. Just ride with me. If you can't, I understand. Hit that share button. Tell them, look, it's a guy that I know named Principal Kafele. You might not know him. This dude is teaching this morning. Join me. Let them know. Hit the share button. Hit the retweet button. Let them know. I know I'm yelling it because that's my fire. I can't talk this any other kind of way because I'm feeling what I'm talking. I hope that makes sense to you, right? Imagine those of you that go to a Baptist church and your pastor delivers the word of God like this. It's just not going to happen because the fire is inside. Let me keep going, y'all. So then that was that. And then I didn't write any more for 4 years because I was so deep into my principalship. And then in 2008, I said, I got to write another one, but I need this one to be specific for the boys. And I went on, and this one's available. I'm not on here promoting books. I'm taking you somewhere. Motivating Black males to achieve in school and in life. Now, this one's available through ASCD, right? Amazon, my website, wherever, principalkafele.com. But I only wrote this book for one chapter. It's like every book I was writing back in them days was just for one chapter. I only wrote this book for one chapter, chapter 4. Let me tell you the name of chapter 4. Who am I? Now, but let me tell you something. This is not self-published where Kafele could just write what the heck he wants to write and put it on out there. It's ASCD, y'all. It's ASCD. See, we talked before I wrote this because I asked them, can I put me in this book? They said, look, do you. Y'all not going to edit it out? Nah, do you. Oh, okay. Because ASCD saw the need for that material. They saw the need for that content. But I only wrote the book because of the one chapter. Who am I? What am I saying? I'm saying, Black boy, you sitting in that classroom and you're being engaged. But the question becomes, within the context of the classroom, who are you? Or self-reflectively, who am I? And you got a whole lot of young men sitting in classrooms who do not know. Let me tell you something. This is about the most real and honest that I've ever been on social media. Y'all got to hear me now. Hear me. When I was at that 4th high school, I understood why my mom had to get me out the city. That's clear. When I went to that school, I'm gonna tell you the name of the school. It was called Woodbridge High School in Woodbridge, New Jersey. It was an ocean of white people. Now, before I got there, I had drank the Kool-Aid. I drank it, y'all. Somebody said, what Kool-Aid? But there's somebody on this call, they already know what Kool-Aid. I drank that Kool-Aid. We talking about your Black children today. Black students matter. But I had drunk the Kool-Aid. Somewhere, some way in my psyche, I don't know how it got there because I know nobody said this to me. It just got there like it gets with so many other Black children. Somewhere it got in me and it said, to be smart is to be white. I drank the Kool-Aid, man. Just saying that I feel like I'm getting emotional, like I'm gonna cry, right? I mean, I'm being literal. That hurt when I just said that. Let me collect myself. That thing hurt, man. It's like somewhere in my psyche, it said to be smart is to be white. And I didn't have that preponderance of examples of Black men in my space who were bright and intelligent and doing big things that I could lean their way, lean on them. I didn't have that, somebody. On this thread, talk to me if you know what I'm talking about when I said that. Talk to me if you experienced that in your childhood, or if you know young people who are experiencing it now. Talk to me. I want to know that I'm not in this by myself. Just put it on the thread because I read all these comments every week. So in my psyche, to be smart is to be white. So I'm looking at my peers. I'm in this all white school. And in my mind, I'm just supposed to excel in sports, basketball. I don't have to excel in the classroom because that's not what we do. That stuff got in me somehow. I don't know how. I don't know where that came from. But I do know that when I became a teacher, that's what my children were saying to me. 30 years later, I'm like, man, and you know I want to say that D word, but I'm recording. I said, man, y'all still believe in that? That's what they felt. Because they're seeing their neighborhood, they're seeing the challenges in the neighborhood, they're seeing the obstacles, they're seeing the pressures, they're seeing the demands, they're not seeing the evidence of what education can do. So now in their psyche, in their mind, being smart is something for white people. No, I got to yell that to the top of the hills. No! I'm saying to you, tell your black children today that you were born brilliant. You were born most highly capable. You were born to do big things because black students matter. But what's this got to do with the assistant principal? Everything. Because my expectation is that you bring the same energy, the same fire, the same passion that you see me bringing this morning toward your leadership. That's why. And if you're not an assistant, like the principals out there, you too. The directors out there, you too. The assistant superintendents out there, you too. The superintendents out there, you as well. That's what I'm saying. Hit that share button for me, somebody. Hit that retweet button for me, somebody. Let them know. Let them know. Tell that young person, and don't let it be a one-shot deal. Don't let it be the first day of school. Most of you are going virtual as we begin. When they come on that screen, don't jump into no subject area. Tell them kids that there's somebody special when they jump on here. Tell them they're amazing. Tell them they're extraordinary. Tell them they're phenomenal. Tell them that you'll never quit on them, never give up on them, that you're going to be there in their corner because they are born brilliant. Let them know that. See, just let them know because they may be unaware. See, hey, Maurice, I caught you out the corner of my eye here. That's another one. Speaking proper English is talking white. That's another. That's. Thank you for that, Maurice. That's another one. Did you ever listen to Malcolm speak? Did you ever listen to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. speak? Did you ever listen to Marcus Garvey speak? Let me tell you something. Did you ever listen to President Barack Obama speak? Did you ever listen to Principal Kafele speak? Let me tell you something. Proper English does not translate into being white. Proper English just means you mastered English. That's all it means. I can speak Ebonics with the best of them because I do. I speak dual languages. I speak two languages. I speak Ebonics and I speak English. I speak fluent Ebonics and I sometimes struggle with English because I speak Ebonics more so than I speak English. So all these myths have to be dispelled. That's the point I'm making. Hey, somebody hit that retweet button, man. Hit that share button. I hope that, like I know I got a diverse audience out here. I know I'm a little different than my norm today, but I'm saying to you, this information's important. It's critical. I'm not even going to break this up into two parts. I'm going until I finish these 3 pages of notes. So let me keep going. So now that information was out there. And the teachers were using it because the book became a bestseller, Motivating Black Males to Achieve in School and in Life, which included the chapter on creating a young men's empowerment program in their school. See, so moving on. I went on later. I didn't write a book for a while until another 6 years. And I wrote Closing the Attitude Gap, which is going to really take me to the heart of this presentation this morning. Closing the attitude gap. I said, and this book was not written for teachers of Black students. This was just a book written for educators because it was focused on attitude. But I want to steer it towards Black students right now. I said, everybody's talking about the achievement gap. Hear me, y'all. Everybody's talking about the achievement gap. And so teachers will come into the business. And they will be focused. They'll come into the education space as a new teacher, and they got an achievement gap in front of them. So their charge is to close the achievement gap, as my charge was back when I became a teacher in '88. And now they got to go through their entire career, and they may be in this career if they stay 25, 30 years, they get to the end of the career and there's that same gap. Didn't go nowhere. And I kept noticing that. I said, these teachers are veterans. They've been in this thing for a long time, longer than me, and hit the same gap still there. This gap. And when you talk about the various different discussions and conversations on education across the country, the biggest conversation at the core of all conversations is the racial achievement gap. Everything else kind of emanates around that. The biggest, the most intense conversation in education is the racial achievement gap between Black and white students. Everything else is secondary. That's the conversation. So now I'm looking at that as a youngster, meaning a young teacher. I said, but there's another question that has to be asked. Achievement gap. I get it. I get it. I understand what they're saying, but I said, but there's a deeper question. And the question is why? Just one word with a question mark. Why? Why does this gap exist? Right? And as I began to examine this why, I said, you know something? I said, this achievement gap that they're talking about, I said, it'll never close if the focus is on achievement. It's not going to close. What are you saying, Principal Kafele? I said, because we're looking at the wrong thing. The youngsters are brilliant. They're brilliant. But, and see, this is big. I question often whether they realize how brilliant they are. I question it often. Do they realize how brilliant they are? See, so I started asking why, and I came to a conclusion. Here's my conclusion, and I just learned something new with my StreamYard here. I could show some of y'all's tweets on the post on the page there. I never realized that. I see other people do it, but I ain't never done it, right? So here we go. So anyway, I said, with this achievement gap, I said, if I can transform the attitude, the achievement will follow. The achievement will follow. If I can transform their attitude, achievement will follow. And that's when I started working on this whole idea of an attitude gap. I said, instead of the achievement gap, like you got Black students on this hand who are underachieving, white students on this hand who are achieving or above, and then you got this gap in between. And now we'll spend our entire career trying to close this gap. I said, no, I got to go to the attitude. I got to go here. I got to go here. And that's when I started playing around with this thing called an attitude gap. And then I went on and wrote the book, Closing the Attitude Gap. And I said, the attitude gap, let me give you a definition. I'm sorry I'm not putting text on the screen because, again, I do this for a living and I can't do it the way I do it when people are paying me to do it. So I got to give you the watered down free version. So you just got to work with me on that. So now I said the attitude gap is the gap between those students who have the will to achieve excellence and those who do not. Once again, the gap between those students who have the will to achieve excellence and those who do not. So one hand, student comes in fired up. Other hand, student seemingly doesn't want it. And I put emphasis on the word seemingly because I will never conclude that youngster doesn't want to learn. So seemingly doesn't want it. So they got a gap. And then everybody in between, I said, I want to close that gap. But here's the key word, the will to achieve. The gap between those students who have the will to achieve excellence and those who do not. I'm putting my energy, any staff member that may be my former staff that knows me, that worked for me, I should say, with me, that would be on this call, they know that my focus was on the attitude of the youngster. Because if I can close that gap, the achievement gap will take care of itself. But then I looked at another way of looking at the attitude gap. I looked at staff. And with staff, I said the gap between those educators who have the will to achieve, to be amazing, and those who do not. I stuttered, so let me say that again. The gap between those educators who have the will to be amazing at their craft and those who do not. Here's what I'm saying. I said, you got a teacher that comes into a building that's so fired up, so excited that teacher's way up here. And you got another teacher that's just burnt out, and I've lost my will, I've lost my way, I've lost my why, I've lost my mojo, and it's down here. I said, I want to tap, and everybody in between. I said, I want to tap into that teacher right there. I want to get that teacher fired up again. I want that teacher to realize his or her greatness. So I got to help that teacher to get there. So now, that's where my focus is, on the attitude, the will of the teacher, the will of the student. That's where I'm at. See, that's where I'm at. So that's where my focus is going to be. So now with that, and this is where those of you taking notes, this is where you're going to really want to take notes. I went on and created what I call a climate culture framework for closing the attitude gap. Once again, a climate culture framework for closing the attitude gap. Man, I'm getting ready to share this with you. You might want to take some notes on this one, because I'm teaching to your ear, right? I'm all auditory, because I can't do that, because my clients would be calling me like, well, yo, what's going on here, right? So follow me. This climate culture framework is broken up into 5 strands. And let me just put out this warning for all the folks that saw fit to wake up and be with me this morning. I'm looking at the clock. It's 12 o'clock. I'm probably going to be on here till 1. Right? I got that much. I got to get this on film so people can watch it later. So I'm gonna be on here for a while. So if you got time, roll with me. I promise not to waste your time. No fluff. But if you got to go, I understand. But hit that share button, that retweet, and let somebody else know. Say, hey, pick up from where I left off. Watch this guy, man, because he dropping some gems today. Right? We're talking about Black Students Matter. So it's these 5 strands, right? 5 strands. And within those 5 strands, and y'all see I'm kind of playing around with this. I didn't even know I could do this with StreamYard. I don't know if everybody's seeing the blown up comments that are being made that I'm putting on the screen, or if it's just the people on my public channel, public page. I don't know, but I'm just kind of playing with it as I go along, right? So here's the thing. Strand number 1, environment for learning. That's the first strand, environment for learning. And it asks the question, do I provide my students with a learning environment of excellence? Now, I want to be specific with Black students now. Are my Black students entering a space that is a learning environment of excellence for them? So in other words, have I taken into consideration my African-American students? That I'm using my environment to keep the playing field level for everybody, right? Because see, the bottom line, and this is for my white colleagues, my non-African-American colleagues, being like I don't know what it is to be white, right? I've never been white. I don't know what that world is. Each race has its own reality. Each race, each ethnicity, each culture, it has its own reality. And being a Black male, I got my own reality. And I gotta adapt to that reality. Because I don't have a reality of, say, someone else. I got my reality. So therefore, I gotta navigate the world accordingly through the lens of a Black man, because that's my reality. Right? So therefore, I'm saying, given that, when you consider the environment, are you intentional about creating an environment of excellence that's inclusive of every student in the room, including that Black student? But the natural answer would be, of course I do. But here's my follow-up question. What's your evidence? See, what's your evidence that that environment is conducive to your Black student feeling welcome, feeling embraced, feeling a sense of belongingness or belonging in that classroom? What is the evidence? See, it's easy to say, of course, Kafele, of course I do. Yes, I do. But what's the evidence? What's the concrete evidence that when that youngster, that Black student walks into that classroom, I feel that I'm on a level playing field, and I have equitable opportunity to achieve with everybody else in that classroom? What's the evidence? See, that's when you got to look deep within yourself on that one, right? So when I talk about that environment, I'm breaking it down into these 4 words. I call it my intentionalities. Number 1, the intentionality of what students see. What do they see? When they walk into that room, what do they see on the walls? What do they see relative to the library that you have in the classroom? What do they see relative to the format of the way you've got the desk arranged when you get back into the school? What do they see relative to you, right? What do they see in terms of how you present yourself? Like, so everything that the eyes can see, what do they see? And for me, I always attached an objective to what they saw. So in other words, I have nothing random on the wall. When I was a rookie, I did because I didn't know better. But once I got out of my rookie stage, I said, whatever they see, there's an objective tied to it. So whether it be work samples, there's an objective tied to that. Whether it be student goals, because I always had them set goals that were written and hung on the wall so that we can practically guarantee large volumes of students on the honor roll, right? Because we said we're not just hoping and wishing for a high grade, we are planning and plotting for a high grade. See, that's a different mindset. So we set concrete goals, wrote the plan, the strategy on how we're going to achieve the goal, and then we went from there. So, and those were hung up in every classroom in the building. So I can go in any room and see what the students' goals were and hold them accountable when I saw them deviating from the strategy that they wrote. So what do they see? They see goals, so they see that we're serious about my grades in this classroom. What do they see in terms of that I belong in this classroom? What kind of action shots are there in the room? Photos of them working, right? So what kind of motivational quotes are there? What kind of images are there on the wall that are reflective of who they are and ideas of what we would want them to aspire to? What is it about that room that, culturally speaking, I feel like this room is reflective of me? See, the intentionality of what they see. See, that's critical. Y'all see me playing with this thing here. So with putting your comments up here, I didn't know I could do that, right? What do I know? So all I know is to get on here and record. So I'm saying to you, whatever they see, I want that youngster to feel like I'm home here. This classroom is representative of me here. This classroom is about me. I feel like I belong. I feel like I'm a part of something here. That's what that classroom's got to be. See, so the intentionality of what they see, but inclusive of that, as I said before, I'm gonna say it again to nail it, what they see in you. See, that matters. Your face, your facial expression, your posture, your body language, how you dress. Because see, when I go to a school and I see a teacher walk up in that classroom with some jeans and sneakers and a football jersey or something, man, that rubs me wrong. Oh man, because I want you to elevate yourself to a higher standard. You look like you just rolled out of bed, man, and you in there teaching. I want you to demonstrate to them students by your appearance that what you do matters. So your appearance matters. It matters. It matters. So to keep it going, that's the intentionality of what they see. Let's go to the next one, the intentionality of what they hear. Oh man, I'm talking about the environment, y'all. What are they hearing in that space? What are you saying to them? What is the inspiration? What is the encouragement? What does that sound like? But then what about the content? Does youngster see self in the content? Does youngster hear self in the content? Am I hearing language that's about me? But guess what, teacher? Understand, we said Black students matter today, but understand something. I can't teach what I don't know. And I can't teach whom I don't know. I got to know what to say. And I've got to know my content. I got to know you, and I got to know my content. I got to know what to say, and I got to know how to say it to the student that I'm talking to. That's a whole like tons of other PD that's outside of the scope of today, because I'm already looking at 2 hours. So that's for another time. But it doesn't mean you can't start now, because as you know, if you've been keeping up with me, I do a book of the week every Sunday morning, a book of the week for teachers of Black children. I'm being very specific with Black children in some of the work that I do, because for obvious reasons, there's a need to. There's a dire need to. Right? So you read those books I've been recommending. You scroll my Facebook pages and Twitter pages, and you'll see all the books I posted for the past couple of months. Right? Those books speak to everything that I'm saying in terms of knowing these children. Cultural relevance, cultural responsiveness. Number 3, the intentionality of what they feel. How your students feel in your classroom. I'm talking about their emotion. What's it feel like to be a student in your classroom? What's the emotion of being a student in your classroom? See, that matters. Do I feel good? Do I feel whole? Or am I begging you not to call on me because I don't feel that way? I'm kind of ducking. I'm out. Don't call on me, teacher. See, how do I feel? The intentionality of what I feel. Do I feel whole? Do I feel complete? Teacher, how you making youngster feel? Right? Are you making youngster feel like I can do big things with my life? I can do big things in the world. How intentional are you about their emotions? That's on you. And then the fourth one, and I'm kind of abbreviating these because I do want to be respectful of time to an extent. The intentionality of what they experience. Man, that's another big one. The intentionality of what they experience, it matters. It matters. Man, I'm saying to you, you've got to shape, form, fashion, and experience for those young people, your Black students in particular, because that's who we're talking about today, that is so magical, that is so memorable, that when they're older and they're in their careers and they're doing big things and they think back on what got me here, it's my teacher. I had this teacher back in 3rd grade. I had this teacher back in 7th grade. I had this teacher back in sophomore year. I had this teacher back in senior year that saw in me what I did not see in myself. That teacher pumped me up. That teacher made me feel good about self. And the experience was so rewarding just being in my teacher's space, even if it was virtual, because my teacher made me feel like I was more than I ever knew I was. My teacher made me feel like I could fly with the best of them, because you created an experience that was memorable. It was memorable. So again, the intentionalities of what they see, what they hear, what they feel, what they experience, and we talk about the environment for learning. Let me go to the next one, the second strand out of 5, attitude towards students. What is your attitude toward them? I'm gonna give you the short version. I'm gonna ask you 3 questions. Number 1, teacher will ask yourself reflectively, do I believe in them? I got your Black students in my mind because we're talking about Black students matter this morning. Let me narrow it down to the young man first. Do I believe in him, regardless of whatever mistakes he may have made along the way toward getting to where he is right now? Do I continue to believe in him? That question is so relevant. Do I believe in him? But let me make it even more relevant. What do I believe about him? Oh man, that's a question right there. What you believe about that youngster? Because if you don't believe that youngster can soar, chances are that youngster won't soar, because what you believe about that youngster dictates who you are in the face of that youngster. Chances are you matter to that youngster. And if what you believe about that youngster is less than the optimal, and you don't believe that youngster could soar with the best of them, but you believe in that youngster being okay, average, mediocre, and we're going to pat you on the back for that, how's that youngster going to make it to those levels? See, let me put another one of these things up now that I see how to do this. See, you and I, not only should we believe in him, in her, but we got to question, what do I believe about him, about her? See, all that matters. But let me tweak it one more time. What do I believe about myself? as it relates to them. Oh, man. What do I believe about myself as it relates to them? That's crucial. That's crucial. What do I believe about me? Do I look in my mirror and I believe that I can take these young people to heights previously unimagined? That's the question. What do I believe about me? Because there could be a teacher out there, there could be a leader out there that yeah, I believe in myself with the student that's high flying. I believe in myself with the student that comes in and fully polished and ready to go. But I'm not talking about that student. I'm talking about that student that needs you. I'm talking about that student that is challenged. I'm asking you, what do you believe about yourself as it relates to that student? And if you are honest with yourself and you feel that I don't think I can connect with that student, then you have got work to do. Because as long as you go into that classroom and you're not a believer in yourself as it relates to that youngster is probably doomed to, and I won't say doomed for life because that would be kind of exaggerating it, but that youngster is probably not going to be able to maximize his or her potential in your classroom. So what's this got to do with the assistant principal? Because assistant principal, you are a supervisor of the teachers that I'm talking about this morning. And you have got to have those conversations. You as the supervisor, as the evaluator of record, one who cannot afford to be in the classroom, in the office, reading referrals and whatever else, reading emails and whatever else folks do when they're in their office. You're not in that classroom to monitor those interactions, those behaviors. I'm saying to you, you have got to be there. Because if you've got a teacher that when we ask the question, what do I believe about myself? And that teacher is lacking belief in self, it will be evident if you're in there to watch it. Because that can't be hidden. It'll be evident. You will see it. You just got to be in there to observe it. And then to counsel the teacher, to work with the teacher, to collaborate with the teacher, to get the teacher to become a firm believer in every youngster in that classroom, regardless of where you're coming in at as the student in that classroom, right? So here, and that's having those uncomfortable conversations, which is why I call myself America's discomfort speaker. Let's keep it moving. The third strand, relationships with students. The first question asks, do I know them? That's a question right there. Do I know them? But it's not the real question. It's a question, but it's not the real question. Here's the real question. The real question is, what do I know about them? See, that's the question. Because see, I can ask you the question, do you know your students? Do you know these Black students? I said the title today is Black Students Matter. Do you know these Black students? And when I say I don't mean like, yeah, I know him. He sits in the same seat every day. Of course I know him. That's not what I mean. I mean, the student arrives to school, but the student is arriving to school out of certain experiences that are unique to that student. Experiences, reality, challenges, obstacle, needs, interest, goals, aspirations that are unique unto him, unique unto her. And I'm asking you, do you have deep familiarity with the experiences of being one of your Black students? Do you have familiarity with that? Because that may be very different. When I went to that school, Woodbridge High School, my experience as an inner city kid from East Orange, New Jersey, was not like a white student in the suburbs. Let's make no mistake about it. The only thing we had in common was that we were human. That's it. It stopped there. We're human beings. It stopped there. So there, from there on, now I got experiences as being a Black man growing up in East Orange, New Jersey, a Black boy, I should say. They were very different from a white boy growing up in Woodbridge, New Jersey. And see, my presence made a lot of them uncomfortable. How do I know that? Because they would drive past me in cars, people that had cars, and they would pull up next to me and they would shout at me, "Hey, N-word, go back to Africa," then screech off. My presence made people uncomfortable down there. I heard myself called that word. Like I read in the autobiography of Malcolm X, he said he heard that word being used toward him so many times he thought it was his name. When I read that, I felt the same way. I said, me too. They was calling me an N-word all the time. But they would never stand in my face and call me that. They would cowardly call it at me and take off. Right? So I'm saying, but so there, my experiences, my experience, my reality, my challenges, my obstacles, my goals, my aspirations, my needs, my interests are so different from somebody else. I'm saying, teacher, can you appreciate that I bring something different to the equation? Hey, teacher, hey, assistant principal, are you in that teacher's classroom? Are you engaging that teacher in that pre-observation conference before you go to the classroom? Are you engaging that teacher in that post-observation? Or are you just in your office hoping that everything is going well in that classroom and you got Black students in there in particular who are suffering, if not struggling? And by the way, if someone's interpreting this message as I'm talking about a white teacher and a Black child, I'm not. I'm talking about a teacher and a child. I'm talking teacher and child. I'm talking whoever the shoe fits in child. Let's make that very clear, right? So now let's keep it moving. So not just do I know you, but what do I know about you? But let's go a step further. What do I know about myself as it relates to you? Oh, man. I could spend an hour on that one. I promise I won't. I could spend an hour on that one. What do I know about me as I dig down? Do I bring any biases that I haven't dealt with? Yeah, you never know. You never know. One could bring certain biases and not even realize one has them. Do I bring any biases that I don't realize I bring to my classroom? That I bring to my students? Do I bring a soft bigotry of low expectations that I wasn't even really cognizant of? Because it happens in some places. It happens. I don't know why I'm struggling with this focus today, right? It happens in some places. I think I got it right now. So you gotta be cognizant of that. So what do I know about myself as it relates to them? Let me keep moving. I see that minute hand. I appreciate you guys hanging in here with me though. Strand number 4, compassion for students, which asks the question, do I care about them? Man, do I care? But you know something? That's not the real question. The real question is, do they perceive that I care? That's the question. See, we don't care what you say. What we care about is their perception of what you feel about them. Your perception. So do you have a so when they're in the classroom with you, are they able to perceive that, yes, my teacher has compassion for me, my teacher cares about me, my teacher's all about me, or do they have a perception in another direction? See. And of course, with all these strands, I need an hour per strand. I'm just giving you a summary version. I'm not giving you the stuff that people pay for, right? I'm giving you the summary version, right? So again, you want the stuff people pay for, you'd call me up so we could arrange that. So, but I'm saying here, as I'm playing around with my new toy on StreamYard, so I'm saying here that their perception matters, but I can take it a step further with that. How do they know that I care about them? What is the evidence? How do they know? See, man, there's a lot of comments on here. I'm gonna get to all this though. I'm gonna get to all of it. So, how do they know that you really care, right? Because see, like I'm reading this one, that teacher doesn't like me. That's real. With a lot of people, it's real. I'm curious about one of these posts. I want to just see what it says. As AP security, I'm everywhere. Teachers become uncomfortable when they walk. Okay, I got you. So now I'm saying to you, those 3 questions with that strand. Let me give you the final strand: relevance and instruction. See, now we're talking equity, we're talking social justice, we're talking cultural responsiveness, we're talking cultural relevance, right? And we're talking a lot in that last one. I mean, I probably need 2 hours for that one. So let me just give you the summary version. Relevance in instruction. So those strands were environment for learning, attitude towards students, relationship with students, compassion for students, and now relevance in instruction. And the first question is asking, do I realize who they are? Here's what I mean. We're talking about Black Students Matter today. And I'm saying to you, your Black students, they come from a rich, rich history. We're talking not centuries old. We're talking thousands upon thousands of years old. There's a whole lot there to learn. There's a whole lot there to know. I'm asking you, when you look at that Black student, do you realize who that Black student is in terms of his ancestral lineage? Lineage. Do you understand who that student is in terms of who that youngster is historically and culturally speaking? Because that student brings a lot. Because I read a lot. It's a rich history. You can't look at that youngster solely through a contemporary lens. You got to look at that youngster in terms of who that youngster is, who that youngster is along the continuum, and who that youngster will become as a result of being your student, right? I mean, that is just absolutely crucial. So the questions, who do I realize who they are? But secondly, do they realize who they are? Oh, man. And then thirdly, what is the cultural relevance of my lesson planning and instruction? Hey, assistant principal that's watching this morning, I'm talking about you. I'm talking about you. I asked the question, what is the cultural relevance of my lesson planning and instruction? You're the one that's reviewing that lesson planning. And as you review those lesson plans, are you able to find it within those lesson plans where the teacher has considered the diversity of that classroom? Is it prevalent within those plans? Right. So with that said, look, I'm saying, and I've been saying this since George Floyd, I'm saying to you, teacher, assistant principal, anybody that will see this video later on, I got 4 books I want to recommend to you as it relates to Black Students Matter and the assistant principal, our topic today. Number 1, you got to get your hands on this based on what I just said in terms of that last strand, relevance and instruction. Introduction to African Civilizations by John G. Jackson. You have got to get your hands on this book to dispel any stereotypes, any false notions, any distortions of history, any lies in history that may be in your psyche that you got to get out of there. This book will take care of that. It will clarify everything you need clarified. Secondly, you got to get your hands on Before the Mayflower by Lerone Bennett Jr. to understand in detail the history of African Americans in this country. Said differently, the coexistence of Blacks and whites in America. You can't go on, well, slavery was a bad thing, and then jump all the way to the 60s and the civil rights movement. You got to know these eras. You got to know the 1600s. You got to know the 1700s. You got to know the 1800s. You got to know the 1900s. You know, I keep hearing people say on the news, the most important election ever in the history of America is the election of 2020, Trump versus Biden. I said, well, wait a minute. I hear you. But did you forget Hayes versus Tilden in 1876? That election was mighty important, right? And mighty game changing. But see, if one doesn't know history, and that's that's in American history, which this is a part of. Obviously, it is nothing about Black history. It's not part of American history. It's just that in the American history textbooks, Black history tends to be marginalized, if not omitted from that particular book or curriculum. But when we talk about presidential races, and as it relates to Black people and how important an election is, you can never forget the election between Rutherford B. Hayes and Samuel Tilden. That changed everything. So that book, and From Slavery to Freedom by John Hope Franklin, got to get your hands on that. And then finally, The Miseducation of the Negro. Critical. So let me just kind of wrap it up. I'm gonna wrap it up. Give me a couple minutes. And I those of you that were able to stay with me this long, I appreciate you. I saw something out the corner of my eye in this comment, and I want to let me see what it says. Fourth grade teacher, my daughter wanted to be a teacher because of fourth grade. So do me a favor, Nicole. Make me understand what you're saying, because I don't know what I was saying when you said I disagree, right? I don't know what you disagree with. So just clarify that for me so I can see what you're saying. So now moving on, I'm saying to you, social justice education, as I did back during the when John Lewis had passed on July 17. I want to throw that definition at you one more time. I said social justice education is the ongoing, student-centered exploration, examination, and assessment of the world upon which your students exist through their own lens. It's an interdisciplinary critical analysis of the world around them with respect to their relationship with it and how they fit in it via their own self-expression relative to issues of social justice, social injustice, and overall systemic, institutional racism, whether it be unconscious, implicit, or explicit. I'm saying here, there's no way in the world that you and I can proceed on through 2020 and beyond without social justice education being an inherent part of what we do. It just can't happen. Right? Because when we talk about it being interdisciplinary, we're saying that it has a place in every subject area that is taught in a school: mathematics, science, social studies, language arts, etc. But also keep in mind that in order to be a social justice educator, one has to understand social justice issues. But you're not the one that's leading the discussion ever. Because we said it's student-centered. We said through their own lens. We said it's their own self-expression, and we said it's interdisciplinary. So we're talking about the integration of the world outside of school with the world in school, bringing it together so that it just makes sense, but through those content areas. So if I'm doing a lesson, and let's say, this is just off the top of my head, I'm doing a lesson on a city like where I was from in East Orange, and you got a 98% Black population, but you got very few Black-owned businesses in the city, right? Well, I'm going to look at that. And I'm talking about when I was young. I'm going to look at that, and I can turn that into not only a math problem in terms of percentages of Black-owned businesses versus Black people that reside in the city, and talk about loans and percentages, and I can have all that lesson in math as well, but I can talk social justice at the same time. And now the lesson in terms of percentages, in terms of fractions, in terms of numbers becomes that much more relevant for the youngster because it's real to the youngster. The youngster can identify with it because youngster sees self in the lesson, and thereby at the same time gets to learn about social justice simultaneously. So again, that's off the top of my head without any forethought, but I want you just to consider that. And then lastly, and I'm just about done, I want to give you this other definition. I'm sorry it's so abstract and I'm reading, but I told you why before. The equity mindset teacher. You can't go in there with the equality mindset. You got to go in there with that equity mindset. Equity is the vehicle to equality. But you got to go in there with that mindset that I'm going to use these vehicles, this equity vehicle, to get to where everybody's at the same level, that equality is our reality. So when I say that, well, the youngster has to be in a classroom with an equity mindset instructor in order to make that happen. Nicole, you weren't even talking to me. So I'll read what the two of you were dialoguing on after I finish this recording. So once again, so I'm giving you this definition, and it says an equity mindset teacher is a teacher who utilizes a variety of instructional strategies that consider the different learning styles, ability levels, social, emotional needs of my students, his students, her students, in a student-centered, culturally responsive, culturally relevant, and equitable learning environment, an equity mindset classroom that is being led by an equity mindset teacher. So there's so much more to say about that, but I will sum it up by saying this: when a student is blessed to be in a classroom learning environment where you've got a teacher who has this equity mindset, right? Well, now we're talking about a case where student individuality and student identity, distinctiveness and accentuation become normal, as opposed to student individuality and student identity, obscurity and invisibility. Because make no mistake about it, there are children in schools who are practically invisible in plain sight. Right? So hidden in plain sight. They're invisible, as I was. But you see, I turned it around. And that's why I so often use my example to say, look, I was down there and I struggled, but I'm doing okay with it now. All right, I got my successes now. So you can't tell me a student can't turn it on and turn it around. That's my point. Right? So that equity mindset instructor, I'm saying in that classroom, there's a higher probability now for student individuality and identity distinctiveness, not a classroom where a teacher says, I don't see race, I don't see ethnicity, I don't see the various cultures, I just see my students, I just see my babies. No, that sounds good on paper, it sounds noble, but in reality, it is hurtful, it is harmful, and it is disrespectful to every youngster in that classroom, because what you have done in the name of being equal, in the name of I feel like I'm doing the right thing, you have suppressed my individuality. You have suppressed my identity. So now that which is my asset of being Black has been suppressed, and you have molded me into or blended me into this one monolithic body of students. But then when the bell rings, the dismissal bell rings for me to go outside into the world outside of school, that world is going to recognize my individuality and it's going to recognize my identity. But I was confined to your classroom for 180 days out of the school year in this artificial environment that did not prepare me to navigate the world out here that will see what I am and who I am. But on the other hand, it denies me of my identity as an African American, as a Black person. So because I want to accentuate that identity, I want to distinguish that identity. I want to illuminate that identity, because I want not only that African American youngster to have the opportunity of learning self and being able to relate to what's being taught, but I want the other students to get the same exposure. I don't want the non-Black student to look at me and think basketball. I don't want the non-Black student to look at me and think football. I don't want the non-Black student to look at me and think hip hop music. I want the non-Black student to look at me and think science, think technology, think engineering, think architecture, think medicine, think agriculture, think astronomy, think science, think scholarship, think education. That's how I want to be seen. Don't confine me to sports. Don't confine me to entertainment. Don't confine me to no hip hop career. Look at me for what Black people have done historically throughout the centuries. But if you blend me all together in the name of equality and you suppress my identity, then there's no way in the world that kind of content is going to become the reality in that classroom. Right? I'm almost done, y'all. So I'm saying here, in that equity mindset classroom with that equity mindset teacher, you got culturally responsive relations with students. You got culturally relevant pedagogy. Again, that's for a broader presentation. I got 52 weeks with y'all, 30 minutes a day, 30 minutes a session. But we'll get that in there. And the teacher's willingness to embrace possible biases when that teacher is bringing that equity mindset. So here, I'm saying when that equity mindset exists, there's the potential for high academic performance of youngsters and operating within an overall healthy climate and culture, a healthy classroom learning environment. Man, I got to exhale, y'all, because I'm at the end. I ran my mouth for an hour and a half, y'all. Look at here. Let me tell you something. I called this presentation Black Students Matter. That's what my spirit's been all week because of the events of this week, this entire week, right? It's been a rough week, and I'm sure next week will be rough too. Next week, we're going to 30 minutes, and we're going to do 30 minutes for 35 consecutive weeks. We're talking assistant principal leadership. Those times when I need to be specific ethnically, racially, we'll do it. But other times I just want to talk leadership. And the majority of the time we're just talking good leadership, and where race, ethnicity fits as it relates to good leadership, then we're going to make that happen as well. So I'm saying to you as I close out, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, School Leadership Thoughts, so you can get all my videos as I post them for leaders. Get the books I showed you before, but these two in particular, Assistant Principal 50 and Aspiring Principal 50, get your hands on both of them. You get them anywhere books are sold, education books are sold. Like and follow my new Facebook channel, Virtual Assistant Principal Leadership Academy, I should say, Virtual Assistant Principal Leadership Academy. Like and follow that channel. I was lax with it this week because I was overwhelmed this week. You know, a lot of us as Black men in particular, we probably need some kind of mental health check from time to time, because I just wasn't myself this week. Not after Jacob Blake. It took me down. And I'm saying to my wife, I'm just not right, man. I'm not right this week, you know, and that's just what it is, you know, and someone who is not an African-American male might not be able to relate to that. Right. And maybe you could, I don't know. But, you know, it's just, that's just the reality of walking in the shoes of a Black man, you know, and then a police officer rode past my house this morning when I was sitting outside. Those of you that saw the picture I took when I was sitting on the steps saying I'm up early and on fire, police officer rode by, and I just had an uneasy feeling. Right. And it shouldn't be that way. But it is. It's just the reality. I'm just giving you the truth from me. So let me see what I'm gonna go ahead and read this, because it was a pleasure being in the number today with you, Principal Kafele, and I appreciate you saying that. I appreciate you, Q Sci-Fi. I appreciate you. So let me say this to you. I see you guys next week. 30 minutes of assistant principal effectiveness is the subtitle of the Virtual Assistant Principal Leadership Academy. Kim Wilson, Daniel, I probably drove you crazy today with the note taking, but that's all right. I see my Aunt Kathy Matthews Baggett in the house. You been here the whole time, or did you just check in? But hey, folks, I appreciate you. Let's check out of here. It's 12:36. I ran my mouth. But that's all right. As long as I was relevant, that's all that matters. If you want to see it again, just go on my pages and see it, Twitter or Facebook, or go to the YouTube channel and you can check it out then. And I will see you next Saturday. It'll be September. Can you believe that? September? I've been doing this since May, and now here we are, September. Where did 18 weeks go? If you've been with me for 18 weeks, I'm getting ready to sign off. But if you've been with me for 18 weeks, just write in this thread, I've been rocking with you for 18 weeks. Let me know. I want to know who been down with me for 18 consecutive weeks. That's a long time to be with somebody, right? Getting up on a Saturday morning and listening to this guy talking about whatever he's talking about leadership. So if you've been rocking with me, you've been rolling with me for 18 weeks, put that in this thread for me so I can know who you are. And then if you're going to be with me for all 52, you can put that too. Of course, you can't predict the future, but I'm going to be on here, God willing, long as some asymptomatic person, non-mask wearing person doesn't come around me and make me sick and put my life at jeopardy, then I will be here for the duration. But if one of them asymptomatic walking past me, they on the phone, blah, 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 blah. They on the phone spraying particles. They walking past me. I got the mask on, but as you know, the mask is not meant to protect me. The mask is for me to protect you from me. So they talking and carrying on the phone. Man, you put me at risk of death without a gun, man. See, that's where it's at. So I'm hoping that that's never my reality, and I'm praying that it's never your reality. I just want you all to be here and we get this done, so that, because see, the better you are, the higher probability that the children are going to soar. And that's the only reason I come on here every Saturday morning doing these free seminars, because I want these children to be in the best possible hands with the strongest leadership possible. And that's my commitment. God said, to whom much is given, much is required. I do this work because God told me to do it. God wakes me up like 6 o'clock on Saturday morning. I ain't got to do this till 11. He wakes me up like 6 o'clock. Go down to that desk and start prepping again. I know you got your notes, but go start prepping again, because you got to bring your A game every Saturday morning. I get it. I understand my assignment. Do you understand yours? So with that said, have a great week. Have an extraordinary week. Have your best week yet. Peace. Peace. Thumbs up. And we cock that fist back and we count to 3. 1, 2, 3. Bang! See you guys in the fall, September 5th, 11 o'clock Eastern.